Hello everyone, Fifi and Sam here for our midweek musings. So what have we got going on this week?
Oh, well, it's a year! Exciting times, isn't it?
Yeah, a whole year of Stand in the Park UK. So we got going on February the 21st last year. There was just a little handful of us, so I registered my St Albans stand first on Facebook, and then we had, I think it was about 8 of us or something around that first week, and now we're at like what, 800,
Something
so
like that.
growing. So
yeah, just a bit.
Yeah. So how's it been for you? A year? I mean, you got on board pretty quick, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I emailed you the 1st of March. I think I got in contact by the Facebook group. Yeah, and then our first one was the 7th of March. So yeah, we're having a do on the 6th of March to celebrate. But yeah, it's absolutely mental to think that it's been a year, isn't it? You know, and how much has changed, how much it's grown. I remember I saw about a stand in the park. I think it was it sort of in the January, and I saw a post from Brady about this happening in Australia and New Zealand, and I looked at it and I thought, that's brilliant. Like, and then I thought, I can't do that. And then I saw your post in the UK saying like the UK are getting going, and I was like, maybe. And I remember typing like, you know, in the Facebook group and like kind of hands shaking and a bit of a like, well, I this is a bit scary. And then you were so lovely, and obviously we got chatting, and you know, I started my stand, and all got, you know, my life has been taken over by a stand in the park, basically.
No,
sure, it's the same for you. Yeah,
it's one of those weird things. It's like it's gone really quickly, but at the same time, it's because so much has happened. It's how can that have happened all in the space of a year? It's just been, I mean, it's just since this whole thing has started, time seems to have, I don't know, speeded up or something, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's very weird, but it's great. So you've got a super stand coming up for your birthday, your stand's birthday.
I've got it a stand-iversary.
I like that. Oh, stand-iversary. Oh, I'm pinching that.
I think I pinched it from someone else, to be fair. I think someone posted in the Facebook group using the phrase stand-iversary, and I did the same. I was like, oh, I like that. Stealing that.
Oh, yeah. Next post.
Yeah, so we're in Basingstoke in Hampshire. And we're having a super stand at the War Memorial Park. We started at the War Memorial Park, and we were there for a good few months, and then it was put to me by a few members of the group about moving to Easter Park, which it kind of has a bigger footfall, so people were thinking, you know, we're more likely to sort of interact and sort of put it out there if we're down there. They also had a cafe and toilets and a play park for the kids and that kind of thing, and so the general consensus was to move down there. But we thought for the super stand, really it has to be back where we started. Back to where we started. So we've got the fantastic Jam for Freedom playing. I'm really, really excited. Had confirmation of that last night. Really excited to have them coming to play. I'm going to be sending an email out to the other stands that are kind of surround us. There's quite a few in Hampshire. And obviously if anyone's a bit further afield and fancies traveling down, you'd be very, very welcome to come and join us. You know, the more the merrier and all that. You know, it's just a big show of celebrating community, celebrating a stand in the park, and all the wonderful things that it's brought to all of us. You know, I get some lovely kind of messages and comments, particularly from obviously the Basingstoke group, that sort of, you know, say how grateful they are, you know, for me starting it up, that, you know, I could sort of saved their life, and that they've made such beautiful friendships through it. And I don't sort of see it as a massive deal. It's kind of like, I just felt called to do it and hoped for the best. And we have got a fantastic community. You know, there's a few hundred of us. You know, if everyone all came at once, there are, you know, a good few hundred of us. And I've made some just fantastic friends, and, you know, got to the point for the first time in my life where I really feel a part of a group, a part of a community. And yeah, it's a wonderful feeling. But yeah, and a big party, lots of fun, dancing,
Yeah,
singing, happiness and joy is the idea. And
yeah.
you've got yours coming up, of course.
Yeah,
You've got
so
Jam
ours,
Freedom as well.
yeah, ours is this Sunday. So Jam for Freedom again will be there. It's open to everyone. You know, if you are in the area or wherever you are and fancy coming along to celebrate a Stand in the Park's first birthday, then we're in Verulamium Park in St Albans. Music starting from about 11:30. So for people in, you know, who have their stands in surrounding areas, they can do the stand first and then come on later. So
Yeah, we're going to do our normal stand 10 till 11
yeah,
at Eastrop, and then it'll kind of move up to the War Memorial Park to kind of get set up and start about 12, I think.
yeah, great. Yeah, so the super stands, for anyone that doesn't know, they're like a, well, what it says really, it's a super stand for like
That's what it says on the tin.
exactly. Yeah, it's for whole regions to come together. So we started doing those last summer. And any stand can do one. You're just sort of inviting any other stands from your county, from your area, your region, and it's just a really great way to, you know, to kind of widen your circle and your community. We usually have a picnic, and, you know, Jam for Freedom is often very happy to come along and provide the entertainment. So yeah, hopefully as the weather starts to pick up a bit, I'm praying for I know, for this weekend, please. It was like a
Oh,
flood yesterday driving
yeah, we
home from the
didn't
Midlands.
stop.
It was, I think it's the worst weather I've ever driven in, you know, and that's saying something. So I was like, please. We do have gazebos and things, so don't let, you know, a bit of rain put you off. But yeah, I think as we get into better weather, the super stands they're great. And we usually do them on a Saturday in the summer, just so you've got the whole day and you're not having to kind of worry about not making it over because of your own Sunday stands. So yeah, hopefully that will be another kind of big thing for the summer again, because they were brilliant last year. Really,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and it is nice to sort of, you know, widen that community, because obviously you've got your stand and you've got your people that are just around the corner or sort of very local to you, but it's also fantastic. I mean, we've got links with some of the other parks, like shout out to Alton, shout out to them quite a lot. And some of the other stands are sort of part of our group and post about their stands. And you know, it'd be great to kind of meet them in person and really sort of come together as a county, you know, a wider community than just the sort of one stand. And I think, you know, we are trying to get something sort of put in place, aren't we? We're working on that in the background to try and connect communities within regions or counties, and try and put something a little bit more organised in place.
Yeah, just needs to be a bit easier for people to make contact with other stands local to them, instead of having to go through us. You know, that people will just be able to do it themselves. But yeah, it's really inspiring when you see just how many people are within your region that you might not have really been aware of. I mean, most of us know that, you know, there are lots of other stands in our counties, but you don't really know how many people are there or what they're doing, and how you could actually all be getting involved to do stuff together. So yeah, it's I think that's kind of if there's any sort of aim for this year, it'll be just bringing more of the same but on a bigger scale, bringing more and more people together. And that's how we empower each other. That's how we start moving out of that fearful state. When you see how many people there are on your side and willing to support and be part of that community, it's it's what it's all about, really, isn't it?
It is power to the people.
Woohoo! Yeah, so that's kind of it, really, isn't it, for today? We just kind of wanted to put a shout out about it being our birthday, and it'd be great to hear from people, actually, because now we're getting into the sort of year for lots of stands.
It did grow very, very quickly. It was sort of, as soon as you put it out there was, you know, a really huge, I think there was a definite need for it, you know, particularly in the UK, because the UK, although Australia, you know, is where it started and they have got, you know, hundreds of stands over there, in the UK particularly, it kind of just exploded into this, you know, massive. We had hundreds of parks within a few months, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We'd hit 500, I think, within 3 or 4 months.
Yeah,
if I remember rightly. Yeah, it did. It was the right time for this kind of thing. So yeah, that was it, really, wasn't it? It completely took over.
Do you remember your first stand? Like, what was your first stand like?
My first stand was, it was amazing, actually, because we turned up and quite disorganized looking back. You know, I hadn't specified a meeting point or anything. You know, I didn't really know what I was doing. I thought, wow, it's going to be me. I went there with one of my sisters, and I knew my friend from Luton was coming down, and I thought, wow, that's all right. You know, it's our first stand, that'll do. And there was one other lady that had inquired, so I thought, wow, you know, we might have 4. And so we were standing there and like walking around looking. You know, I was following anyone in yellow, which you never normally see yellow, and that day everyone was in yellow, and I'm kind of, you know, they're absolutely oblivious, had nothing to do with us at all. So we're standing there for ages, and then a couple of people kind of sidled over, because at this point we were in lockdown. We were not supposed to be fraternizing with anyone. No. You were only meant to be in pairs. You were only meant to be out for exercise, yada yada yada, you know. So it was really, you know, quite, everyone's a bit suspicious. But yeah, a couple of people kind of sidled over and like, "You're a stand in the park." Like, yes. And then a few more, and then somebody else came along, which was great. You know, we were all having a chat, and somebody else came along and said, "Oh, I found some other people." So we walked around the lake, and there was this big group of about 15, 16 people. So the first stand, we actually had 28, which was, you know, for St Albans, which is very, you know, Middle England, conformist, it was really quite overwhelming, actually. Yeah, and it was great, and we just kind of grew and grew from that day on. It's got bigger and bigger, and we're still getting new people coming along. You know, pretty much every week there's someone new that's heard about us or even passed by. And now we're so established, I think people are so used to seeing us there every week. Yeah. They're more inclined to you know, they see we're a friendly bunch, we're not up to any mischief, and they feel a bit more able to come over and say hello and inquire about what we're there for, which is why I'm always talking about maintain your stands, you know, like just having that presence has an impact itself that you might not necessarily be aware of. So yeah, it was great. What about your first one?
It was, we actually had a similar number, which I was really surprised about.
Yeah,
we had somewhere between 25 and 30. I can't remember what I did. I'd met a few people that I knew were kind of, there was a little group of people who had started sort of doing like little tiny mini protests, and they'd made the local paper, and I'd sort of reached out to them and some other people that I knew were like-minded, and said, look, this is what I'm doing, and you know, it'd be great if you could come and spread the word to anyone else that, you know, is sort of bemused by all this, you know, nonsense. I remember standing in the bandstand with my husband and kids with me, so I was never ever going to be alone. But yeah, people started filing in, and I you know, my first instinct was like, have a hug. And you know, at this point, obviously, you know, that was you know, having a hug was just,
yeah, completely.
But I think people do forget, you know, just how crazy it was a year ago. You know, you are not allowed to stand in a park. You are not allowed to go and just, you know, meet someone outside of your household. You know, it was really strict, really kind of just this. And so yeah, there's lots and lots of hugs, and people really relieved to know that, you know, they weren't alone. And the more people that sort of turned up, the more it was like, you know, this is brilliant. And we did have a visit from, there was about 10 coppers turned up. They sort of just descended on our stand and was like, you know, what are you doing? And at this point, I was absolutely terrified. I've never had any dealings with the police. You know, I've never been in situations where, you know, they've ever sort of, you know, and I was like, holy crap. You know, and they were really, you know, stern. We did have one lady who sort of got arrested, and that was just mind-blowing, you know, being arrested for standing in a park.
I know, it unbelievable.
Just, you know, everything up to that point, and I think even since that point, you know, the idea that you can be arrested for standing in a park with a friend, it's just mind-blowing, you know. But yeah, right, it's I had no idea how to deal with it, so I sort of went away and I thought, right, we're going to be doing this every week, like I need to read up on my rights. And I spent that week, you know, really kind of digging through the law and all these kind of resources out there to kind of see, well, where do we stand, you know, and what are the kind of guidelines and everything else, you know, that are written within laws and, you know, the Human Rights Act and all that kind of stuff. And I think I did put together something last year, didn't I, and published it in the group and stuff, because this was happening around a lot of stands, wasn't it? You know, over the first few months, you know, the police were really trying to sort of crack down on this, you know, how very dare you stand in the park.
Yeah, we had the same thing at ours. We had, at one point we had I think there were 6 police cars in the car park with the, you know, and the whole thing was just so ludicrous. It just, yeah, you couldn't make it up. It's like we're just standing there, you know, together in a park, and this is what our public spending is going on. That's the resources there, and they actually have to call police from outside the county because there are so few, or outside of the town rather, from other areas of the county, to bring in police to just, I mean, and it's, yeah, people were really freaked out at first, but it's amazing now, just people are so much more empowered, so much more aware of the law and the different
myself.
Yeah, acts and legislation and mandates and so on and so forth. So it's been a massive learning process, but everyone now is just so much more, you know, the police come along, oh, carry on, You know,
they graced us with their presence like every week for about 6 to 8 weeks.
yeah,
We had
yeah.
at least one or two sort of come down just to remind us of the rules and that kind of thing. And after that first week, I was like, right, I know. And I just sort of stepped up. I thought, well, because people were kind of looking to me, they were like, well, you started it, like
You started this now.
Okay, so yeah, I stepped up, and like my legs were shaking, my belly was churning, and my voice was probably shaking, but I was like, no, right, I'm well within my rights to be doing what I'm doing. And and I feel so much more empowered now, to be doing that. And it's led to so many other things. And I think once you kind of break out of yourself and you're pushed outside of those comfort zones, you realize the courage and the strength and the capability that you actually do have, that I think many of us kind of go undiscovered, because it's quite easy to stay within your comfort zone, isn't it, and just do that kind of safe and easy thing. And the last year has been a year of transformation for me personally. And I owe a lot of that to a stand in the park as being the catalyst to kind of reconnecting with myself and recognizing my inner strength, my inner power, and being able to kind of run with that. And it's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and it's been the same with, well, I think for most people that have been going to a stand regularly, you can't avoid being transformed somehow. I mean, so many people had never been to a protest before.
I never had before. My first one was March, the worldwide demonstration.
Yeah, we went
first
together.
time I met you, I was like,
yeah. And it was a bit of a different situation then. The police, it was much fewer numbers at that point, and the police presence was huge.
I was terrified getting on the train.
Arms to not be pulled apart, and but it's for the people that had never done that before. Now they're just old hands. Before they were terrified at the idea of a protest, and now
it's the highlight of my month now.
Yeah.
And where I used to go up on my own, the last time I went, there was about 40 of us from Basingstoke that all travelled up on the train together, and it's just fantastic.
Yeah,
like you're all going. The vibe on the train is just. Woo! I'll have to dig out that first photo that we took.
Yeah.
It was in those gardens up by Buckingham Palace. We walked past Buckingham Palace and then through that big park to the side of it.
Yes, yeah. Green.
And daffodils and stuff had just come into bloom. It was lovely.
We had a rest there, didn't we? I remember
we did. We sat in a little mansion and
under that tree, didn't we?
We did.
Absolutely shattered. Yeah. Oh, definitely. We'll have to do like a little montage or something.
Yeah, I want to do one. I'm not technically minded at all, but I've been looking through all the photos from our Basingstoke stand over the last year, and it's just amazing looking back and going, I've developed relationships since. We're going, you were there on the first one, and now like you're my favorite person in the whole world. Like,
yeah. Oh, it's great.
Yeah, we have to do one for us. Our journey.
Yeah, our stand in the park journey. Okie doke. Wow, yeah. So is there anything else that you want to kind of put out there before we say tutty bye?
I don't think so. I think there's a lot going on in the world, and some things happening that aren't so positive. But I think as we discuss, this is a really positive time for a stand in the park, celebrating a year of bringing people together and literally changing lives, and we can both attest to that, changing them for the better. So I think, best to stick on that subject, eh? Bring the joy and the love for a stand in the park, and, addressing the other concerns of what's going on perhaps next week.
So anyone that wants to put something out there to advertise their own birthday stand celebrations, just let us know, and then we can put that across social media. And cool. Okay. Well, Speak to you next week. Lots of love.
Bye.